A one and a two and a chick-a-boom a chick.
What if your website sent you 19 real remodeling opportunities every single month? That's exactly what's happening for this month's sponsored Remodeler story. Alex Weeks, owner of Northbuilt Construction in Denver, Colorado. He's been working with CGN since 2024 and says this in his review. Ultimately, the lead flow that we've seen come our way is a huge testament to the SEO efforts. You guys, CGN, just have everything from a foundational perspective in place properly. In fact, Alex's website now generates an average of 19.1 remodeling leads per month, and 76% of those leads are marked as high quality opportunities by Alex and his team. If you're curious about these results, want more proof, or want to hear some more stories from remodelers like yourself, head on over to contractorgrowthnetwork.com/results, where CGN is always publishing case studies with real statistics of their clients' websites. That's contractorgrowthnetwork.com/results. Folks, welcome to the Remodelers on the Rise show. Not episode 100, not episode 200, not episode 300. It is episode number 376. I asked my producer / team member, Cassie, what number is this? Because we don't necessarily put it in the title. And she did a little dig in and she goes, well, we actually have 3 or 4 already in the hopper that's going to be going in the coming weeks. So we determined that this is going to be number 376. I have two-time. There's one other of that 376 episodes that Shawn Billings with Credible Construction, owner and founder of Credible Construction, has been on before. This is number 2 for him. And when I mentioned this is episode 376, Shawn, what did you say? As the kids are saying what?
6, 7 backwards.
6, 7 backwards. But here in March 2026, Shawn, you have not gotten the memo. Turns out the board of teenagers, yes, there is an actual board of teenagers. They congregated in January, and the leaders of the teenagers said, we're done. We're done with the 6, 7 thing. Grandma was doing it at Christmas. Aunt was doing it at Thanksgiving. The fact that they're joking about it, we've got to be done and we've got to move on to something new. Have you found out what they're moved on to yet?
I haven't. I think it's a smart move though.
I'm seeing this thing where they're doing this thing with their index finger and thumb. I've been seeing teenagers do that lately. I don't really know what it means.
Okay.
But
I haven't seen that. I've seen a lot of this, which is like a heart. Like instead of this thing, you're getting a little heart going on.
Yeah, because their old heart, you had to use both hands to make a heart. Ooh, if you're watching the video recording that, it even threw at hearts. But the problem for the teenagers, and Shawn, what Shawn did was he crossed his thumb and his index finger on one hand into what kind of sort of looks like a heart. I'm guessing the teenagers decided that because if you are able to do that with one hand, you can still be scrolling and doom scrolling with the other.
Right, or you can throw up 2 hearts instead of 1.
Ooh, double the love. Excellent.
Easy way.
Excellent. So now you know some of the backstory, folks. Episode 376, it also reminds us that, reminds me anyway, when I think about that, I was like, holy cow, that's a lot of episodes. And it reminds us of this truth of life and business, which is it's the consistency of sometimes boring, week in, week out consistency that produces results. It's that way with our health. It's that way with exercise. It's that way with what we eat. And frankly, it's that way with so much of the business side of things. Shawn, the reason that you are in business and building a nice business and have been building a steady business and a profitable business, the reason that you have good retention of your team members, it's not some magic bullet. It's a combination of consistency in doing the little things. So let that be a reminder. All of a sudden you look up and you've been consistent. You're like 376 episodes. What in the world could we possibly still have to say? Yet here we are. Shawn, could you introduce yourself before I dig into the topic we're going to dig into today?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or you can riff off anything I've said so far.
No, you've done a wonderful job. So again, I'm Shawn Billings with Credible Construction. I started my business in 2006, and we are in the Seacoast region of New Hampshire. And we do kitchen and bath remodeling with a focus on a stress-free process for the customer, and being able to get in and out of people's homes as quickly as possible so that everyone's happy in the end.
How's the stress-free process for the business owner going?
Oh, that's not
Oh,
ever. I don't know if that's a thing, but hopefully
yeah.
one day it can be.
I mean, I think we all have some type of stress that we're going to carry. We even at the end of our level 10 meetings, we do a what's your work stress level, 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, and what's your personal stress level. We added that into kind of our weekly meeting at Remodelers on the Rise, because it makes me stop and think about it for myself. And it's also helpful even on my managing of my team and leading my team to kind of see where they're at. And it's interesting when you do it week in and week out, you can kind of see the trends in one way or another. And I think we've determined that we're never going to say 1 or 2. Sometimes we're never even going to say 3. Like there's this natural stress level. But I will also inject this. There in our nervous system, we've got our ventral part of our nervous system. It's cool, calm, collected, content, kind of calm. We've got our fight or flight, which is when we're kind of worked up and anxious and stressed, etc. And then we have our dorsal, which is kind of shutdown mode. And I learned this actually at the Remodel Your Marriage, Life, and Business conference. We had a guest speaker in named Dr. Joshua Straub, and he was teaching on it. And during the part that he got to the fight or flight, my wife took her little pointy elbow and elbowed me, and she's like, "That's you. You live in that fight or flight, dude."
Mhm.
And for whatever reason, it hit me. I mean, she literally hit me, but it hit me in a different way of going, I do tend to live in that. And in the weeks that have followed, I've been much more aware of when I'm kind of making a mountain out of a molehill, when I am increasing the stress level when it really doesn't need to. So while we're always going to have some level of stress, I do think that we are able to be more aware of it and can work towards containing it.
Right. And would we be business owners if we didn't have a tendency to move in that direction? I feel like I'd go work for somebody else if I just wanted to stay in a comfortable
That is
mode.
true. That is true. So what Shawn and I were going to dig into, he had responded to our post that we made in Remodelers Community. If you go to remodelerscommunity.com, you can find it, our Facebook group, where we just said, hey, we'd love to do kind of some coaching call style podcasts. And the topic we have today is related to kind of digging into how do we build a little bit more accountability into our leadership and into our team. How do we get some KPIs in there so that your team that you have, you're not necessarily going, hey, what's the status of this? Hey, how is this going? We have some rhythm and routine to accountability and KPIs, and we're going to kind of dive into that. Before I do that, maybe share a little bit about your team members. We had done some work together a few years back, and I'm going, wow, look at these names that I see on your org chart. There's a lot of similar names or the same people. So to give a little preview of kind of your org chart and who you have and what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have Jen, who is our HR specialist, also office manager. She's kind of my gatekeeper of time. She protects me first and makes sure that I have time to do what I need. That's our main goal. And then we have Nick, who is our project manager, running the projects, doing the scheduling. He's been with me. I think Jen's been with me for 5 years. Nick's been with me off and on 10 years, but on for 6. And we have our new project coordinator, Andrea. She's been with us for 2 months.
That's exciting.
She's a perfect fit to the system. She's really just, in the first 3 months, she's not supposed to know anything yet, but she's already picking up on stuff and trying to help us build a system of tracking when and how we talk to customers and when we're supposed to. And then we have Scott, who is our lead carpenter. He's been with me the longest. I think we're going on 10 or 11 years now. And then we have a younger guy, Mitchell, who is training to be a lead carpenter. And we have him out on some jobs on his own. And he's been with us for a couple of years now. Great guy, shows up every day, works hard.
Excellent.
And then we have a part-time firefighter, Jonathan, as well.
Okay, cool.
And one more person, not in our team, in our office every day, but a very important part of our team is Christine from Tradition Accounting, who is our accountant and the person that basically watches everything on the backside, make sure nothing slips through.
All the bookkeeping, all the financial reporting.
Yeah.
Good. That hire of Andrea as a project coordinator, that's got to be pretty exciting of going, okay, if we are able to get design decisions done, make sure all the selections are done better, enhance the client experience, that's going to help with that goal of stress-free. But I'm imagining that she's going to enable you guys to do more and more of the planning and details up front before kind of the project gets going. Is that a big part of her role, or is it also even during the project?
No, it's going to be before.
Okay.
During the project, pretty much once it's handed off and started by the project manager, she's going to do some check-in with the customer. So part of her job is customer success manager, basically, where just we tell the customer we're going to do X, Y, Z, and she makes sure we're following through and just check in, make sure the customer's still happy. But all the upfront work, that's going to be her main goal. Okay. From our first site visit right through, do you have the estimate in hand? What are the decisions? And pushing and forcing timelines to happen, where that's kind of one of our biggest bottlenecks right now is projects just sit in project development because customers don't make decisions, and I don't have time to follow up. Someone else doesn't have time to follow up.
We'll blame the client. We'll blame the client a little bit, but I'm going to blame them 30%, and I'm going to blame us 70% of, how could we be managing the design development process better? Even what you just said there, I don't have the time to kind of follow up. In walks Andrea, where all of a sudden the problem that we've had of, clients are dragging their feet on this, we lead them through that a little bit stronger. Hopefully that bottleneck kind of evaporates.
Yeah, and she's already started doing that.
Good.
We've set dates of like, hey, we want decisions by this date.
That's huge.
Are the customers going to do it all the time? No, but we also now have a repercussion like, hey, we're going to move somebody who did make decisions up now. On the schedule. Yeah.
I mean, we're elegant. We're not going to be pushy in that, but we're elegantly going to lead them. And for everybody listening to this, we need to be a little bit less kid gloves when it comes to walking our clients through design and project development. Lead it. They're happy to follow it. Get very clear with the selections, get very clear with goals related to the deadlines for it. Be realistic with it, but also keep that end in mind of, hey, if we're going to start this project on this date, working back from there, we want to have everything finalized by this date so that we have time to order it, which means that our task, kind of our first couple dominoes we want to knock over and get figured out is this and this. Do you think we could complete that by fill in the blank? So little of that is going on, and that can make a big difference. Before we dive into kind of the KPIs and moving towards that, which for those listening, that stands for key performance indicators. We'll talk about that a little bit more. I want to ask, what is your weekly cadence at Credible Construction when it comes to your team meetings? What do you already have in place for your team meetings?
Weekly, we meet once with everybody in the office, and those meetings they're more structured in more of a, we're building some systems. So everyone has a system they're working on. So each week we meet and discuss, where are you in that process? For instance, Andrea is just working on when are the customer touches, or what are the customer touches, and then when are they happening in the process? Okay. And it's just an outline. Then we'll dig in deeper. Jen is working on a project closeout form where we're tracking certain things at the closeout, but she's responsible for making sure it's getting done and that it's working properly. And we've had to make revisions because the field guys want their own sheet. So she's working on that. that's our weekly meeting.
Almost like everybody's got, if they use the EOS term, like a quarterly rock, if you will, or like this is the main on the business thing, the main system improvement thing, and let's meet weekly to check in if we're on pace for it, if anybody's stuck on it, to make sure it's moving forward.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Cool.
And then every other week we do a full team meeting, and that's to, got a different purpose every week.
Okay.
I would say the meeting thing is one thing that we haven't fully, like there isn't daily huddles. There isn't, if you're talking the lean systems and having a daily huddle every morning, we need to be better about doing that stuff.
Okay.
And pushing that issue.
And then what about on your production side with Nick? Do you guys have any kind of production specific meeting?
Not really. No.
Okay. Why not? Like, tell me, like, legit, why not?
I don't know if I have the answer to that question. I think everything is moving quickly. I think that's part of what Andrea coming in to fix is going to solve, because they do talk about it. So like today we had a handoff meeting that we had to move tomorrow, but with the lead carpenter and Nick, and it's to discuss the project that we're starting next week.
Good.
So we're starting that process of making sure that we're doing these handoff meetings. We just haven't in the past, I think, mainly because of not having that project coordinator to make sure we're staying on track and doing what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. As you were going through your org chart, I jumped at that one. I'm like, oh, that's an exciting position. There's so many things that you've been wanting to do, be more proactive with, better follow up, better client experience, that all of a sudden I can see that coming off your shoulders. And with that position rocking, it makes Nick's job in the production side easier. There's so much good ripple effect there.
100%. And it's the first real hire that, I mean, we're terrible at hiring people, right? I don't know how to do it. I've never done it before, but I came up with a system in ChatGPT, and I ran, a couple interviews through it, and I said, tell me how I'm doing. And it said, you're talking too much. You're terrible. This is how we need to structure it. And Andrea was our final interview. And I mean, not only did she kill it, but like we did our first real good interview. And she's our first hire that I would say strategically made the most sense, that we did it legit.
Yeah.
The right way.
I have a pet peeve lately, and I just jump on it every time I hear it. You said we're terrible at hiring. And anytime I hear like an absolute like that, especially in a negative way, I'm like, all right, I mean, maybe that's true. At the same time, we have notoriously been bad at hiring. We've been lackadaisical. We've been shoot from the hip. I'm walking into it. I'm not 5P. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Oh, even got a mug that says it, folks. Look at that. And I'm going into it haphazardly, and the results show. And you know what? We're getting better at it. I'm actually using, like a Chat GPT, thinking through it, learning some new strategies. Oh, that's a great question. Oh, I need to shut up and get them talking more. I need to ask more follow-up questions. So, it's something you struggle with, and we're getting better at it. You also said you haven't really hired people in the past. I think one of the amazing things that you have is now you may have just had relationships and these naturally happened, but you have team members that have been with you for years and years. So do not undercredit yourself with your ability to lead them, to provide them good employment, an enjoyable place to work. There's a reason that you've got some nice longevity here.
I agree.
All right, good.
100%.
All right. The negative, I just jump all over that absolute, especially the absolute negative. No. That's not how
we were terrible at it. We
That's
are now
what we're talking
better
about.
than average.
Yes, reframe it a little bit. That's fine. One of the things you wrote was most accountability still happens through conversations rather than visible scorecards. And you mentioned like that's kind of got us here, and we're doing okay, but it's probably going forward as we continue to grow, capping growth a little bit. Even the idea of you have a whole nother person in Andrea that has her fingers in the pot now, which means, okay, I had a conversation with Andrea, and she relayed the conversation her and Nick had, but then Jen also wanted to mention this. Like you add another person to it, and communication that is only accountability that's only happening through conversations and you proactively asking questions gets exhausting, and it breaks down quite quickly when you are carrying the weight of any and all checking in accountability. It turns into easily micromanaging, and just isn't good overall. So let's focus in specifically on Nick as a project manager. And I just want to think through what would be a little bit of a couple things on a scorecard, or what would be a couple key performance indicators, KPIs, that would work in his role. And when we think of KPI, we think, okay, if we're doing these handful of things, the end result that we're going for is going to be achieved. We can control these KPIs, and if we pick the right ones and we're achieving them consistently, the end result we're going for will happen. For example, on the production side, the end result of a stress-free remodel for the client that is delivered on time and on budget will happen if we do the following. What comes to your mind of a couple things that might be good candidates for a KPI for Nick as the project manager?
Definitely scheduling. How to do it, that's kind of the question. How to, daily or weekly or monthly, even just make sure everything is updated on it, that it's clear to everyone who's using it, this is what I'm doing this day or where I'm going, and that trades have been secured, in the proper amount of time. That's one big KPI. We need to make sure that we've set the job up. So, we didn't ask the plumber yesterday to come today because he's going to say he's busy. Did we do it in enough time, and we had them lined up properly on the right day so everything could flow? That's a big one. Another big one is, we have in-house guys. So did they clock in properly each day? Did they clock into the correct item so we can job cost properly at the end of the job?
Okay, so pause there.
Yep.
So going back to the scheduling one, what I have found related to a project manager and their KPIs, scheduling absolutely is one of the KPIs. What happens so often, you just talked about it, of, okay, we got a plumber, all of a sudden now we need him there tomorrow. We had a change in the schedule. I need to alert so-and-so so that they know we're going to want them to start a day or two later. I've got in-house team members, and if I'm not paying attention to the schedule, I'm scrambling last minute. What I'm hearing there is chaos, confusion, stress, last minute things, etc. Fact, you set a schedule, you get it in place. By the time you send it or hit print on it or say, all right, I got the schedule done, guess what? It is already almost changed on you.
100%.
And that's just the reality of it. Now, some people look at it and go, well, that's why I don't even like scheduling. It's just a constant thing we've got to evaluate. We've always got to be adjusting it. Correct. And you know what excellent project managers for remodelers do? They update a schedule on their open projects every single stinking day, or worst case, every other day, because they know that their schedule, their 2-week look ahead, impacts their trade partners, impacts their in-house team members and moving that around, impacts material needs, impacts the client experience. If we're not paying attention to our schedule and we're not staying on top of it, and we go, plumber, I need you there tomorrow. Well, I can't be there tomorrow. Now that project is stuck here on Tuesday until Friday. This project just went 3 more days. Operation Stress-Free Remodel just got a little kinky in it. Like it's got, I shouldn't use that word. That was a weird word to use. Just got a little kink in it. It just screwed it up a little bit. It just got messed up. And all of a sudden now we're adding more to it. They've got to eat out for another 3 days on that kitchen. All of that happens. So schedule is huge. What would a KPI that sounded like, and let's say Nick had to report it on, let's say Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m., Nick updates his KPI that says each job 2-week look ahead completed, and yes, no on each of the active jobs. If you had on Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock, 2-week look ahead completed, for each of the jobs, yes or no. That says only two answers, yes or no. That is a KPI that if he says no on those, we know the result of that. If he says yes on those, then you, from a leadership standpoint, go, this is sweet, because you've also defined what complete 2-week look ahead looks like. It means we have adjusted for the coming 2 weeks. It means we have notified any trades of any tweaks there. We have considered any material or rental needs we have, and we have considered what that looks like for our in-house team. That yes is loaded with work involved for your PM. That would go a huge, long ways, right?
Yep, it would. And
That's
it
a
would
big
force
one.
them to think about it before Tuesday comes to make sure he got it done.
Yes. And there is no Shawn saying, hey, have you done the 2-week look ahead for blah, blah, blah? That's done. There's none of that. It is at 9:00 on Tuesday. He updates in a note to you or wherever you keep your KPI, yes, no on that. And you can go in and review it ahead of your 3:00 weekly project manager meeting, let's say, on Tuesdays. So it could look something just as simple as that. I also kind of threw Tuesday out for a reason. Doing this on Monday. Monday is just the hustle and bustle. I've also seen people do their production meeting on Thursdays, and maybe their KPI reporting could be on a Thursday. The thing I hear a lot of remodelers talk about there is Thursday's nice because it gives us Friday to kind of get organized and make sure we're hitting the ground running on Monday. So you can kind of experiment with that a little bit. But that would be a big schedule. What do you like about that scheduling one I threw out?
Love it. I think just forcing something to be happening to where, like you said, I don't have to check in. I know come Friday, I'm not going to get a call from Scott saying, hey, what's the schedule look like? Because, I would have talked to Nick on Thursday, let's say. And because he said yes to it, I can confidently go, Nick updated the schedule 2 weeks ahead. You're all set.
Yes. The other thing, would you be doing that in JobTread? Use Job?
We use JobTread.
Okay, yeah.
That's the tricky part, though. I mean, right now I'm just trying to build everything. Let's build it, get it in hand first, and then let's figure out how we could do it on JobTread once we get the system figured out.
The other thing you could enhance that, again, you want to keep it simple. I would encourage you just keep it as stupid simple as possible. The other thing you could tweak to the 2-week look ahead is if I have these 5 open jobs and I know nothing about any of these jobs and I get from Nick that KPI update and it says Jones, yes, Smith, no. And again, not kind of, sort of. It's either yes or no. You could also say on the Smith job, yes, you could put in parentheses plus 2 days, which means I've updated the schedule. A couple things happened. We've added 2 days to the overall project schedule. That's another little tweak that could be interesting, but you got to define exactly what does 2-week look ahead complete yes look like. It means I've reviewed that and we went over it like this and this and this has happened as a result of that. What this also does is I'm guessing if you're not having these KPIs or you're not having these meetings, Nick is probably out in the field running and gunning a little bit more than you'd like him to be. You'd love him to be in the office a little bit more. True or false?
True.
Yeah. And if I have a KPI that I need to go through, I need to update that. It also starts to move him towards a little bit more focus on, all right, I've got to have some office time to sit down and prep for this. That would be a huge step in the right direction.
100%. And currently we love putting out fires. So
you do have a part-time firefighter on your team.
We do. But he doesn't need to be full-time.
Right. We don't when he comes to work for us, he should get a break from the firefighting.
He should.
But dude, that's and if I were in your shoes, I would absolutely be doing a Thursday afternoon, maybe 1 hour, but maybe 45-minute production meeting. I would have a very clear agenda. I've already got the KPIs. I would ask for like a 1 or 2 sentence update of anything in particular on the existing projects. And it would just, that little catch-all meeting would allow us to, hey, I saw on your KPI that we had a no on this. Tell me more about that. I just haven't had a chance to do that one. That's on my list today. I should have it done by this afternoon. Cool. Let me know that because I'm a little concerned that might juke and jive, this other project. But I would highly suggest also just starting a little 45-minute weekly meeting. That'll batch a lot of those questions and give you the ability to do some accountability. What if your website sent you 19 real remodeling opportunities every single month? That's exactly what's happening for this month's sponsored remodeler story. Alex Weeks, owner of North Built Construction in Denver, Colorado. He's been working with CGN since 2024 and says this in his review. Ultimately, the lead flow that we've seen come our way is a huge testament to the SEO efforts. You guys, CGN, just have everything from a foundational perspective in place properly. In fact, Alex's website now generates an average of 19.1 remodeling leads per month, and 76% of those leads are marked as high quality opportunities by Alex and his team. If you're curious about these results, want more proof, or want to hear some more stories from remodelers like yourself, head on over to contractorgrowthnetwork.com/results, where CGN is always publishing case studies with real statistics of their clients' websites. That's contractorgrowthnetwork.com/results. What would be one other production manager related KPI that comes to your mind?
So before that, can I ask a clarifying
Yes,
question on the schedule? When you say 2-week look ahead, let's say that's 2 projects right now. If I look into the next 2 weeks, is that also considering like a 2-week look ahead for projects that are starting a month out, but have we built a 2-week at least starting schedule of what that project's going to look like? Does it consider future jobs, or are we just talking straight 2 weeks on?
Let's it could look a few different ways. What I would say is, because scheduling is so in flux, on any active project or project that's going to be starting up soonish, we should have a quite a detailed 2 weeks where it's really broken into detail. I think sometimes where we get overwhelmed on the scheduling is when we try to make week 3 or 4 or 5 of a project super granular and detailed.
Right. I think week 3, week 4, it's more, there's a lot of trades that want a 3-week notice, a 4-week notice.
Fair.
They're booked out, tile guy.
Yes.
Right. So those are the ones that you focus on 3-4 weeks out. Have they been notified?
Yes.
Can we still hit that date, realistically? Or if we have to shift it, fine. As long as they're on the schedule.
Yes.
They can move a couple days, most likely.
Yeah.
That's fine. We'll figure that out when we get there. Just focus on the things that you have to lock in far out.
Yes, the big ones that if I don't get them on the schedule, then crap, we might be put out another month because they're going to get other things in place. I would say like think about in your guys' case already, like we're not managing the schedule as actively and consistently as we want. If we said we want 3-week look ahead, it just adds more detail and thinking through. I think the 2-week look ahead gives good clarity for a lot of it. And yes, to your point, if there's any super key trades or details, then we do need to be aware of that. Okay, I got my 2-week look ahead on the Smith project. Anything else kind of the following week or the following week? No, we're doing that in-house. We should be good there. As a project manager, I should be thinking about it. And to your point, me as your project manager, I know some of our trade partners that it's vitally important that I communicate further in advance for them.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. What would be one other PM one?
Time clock and daily log tracking. One thing we noticed a little while ago, which I did change. So I do have a KPI we could use to track, where in JobTread, we made a daily log custom field where I have things that I want the project manager to do every single daily log. Those are all noted in there. I know he's done when that list disappears. Mm-hmm. And then he's checked the rest of the daily log, because a lot of times I was finding he gets so much information throughout the day that the guys in the field don't think are important. But it can be as simple as the customer texted and asked a question or said something, about their schedule and life. And the guy in the field doesn't think it's important to put it in the daily log for whatever reason. Well, the PM knows all this stuff.
Okay.
I know because I watch it happen, right? And that stuff wouldn't get logged in the daily logs. So now it's his job to go into the daily logs and make sure. So that is one KPI where I could just say, same thing, yes or no, have you completed all the daily logs? And that's easy to go in and see, did he
Yeah.
get rid of the
And that
list?
KP, yeah, it could get rid of them, or even on like the weekly report of it, 6 out of 7, or 4 out of 5 days, we accomplished the daily logs. 3 out of 5 days, we accomplished the daily logs. Like, be like, rate, you're not getting fired if you don't hit your KPIs perfectly, but I
Right.
want you to honestly answer, did you get the 2 week look ahead on these? Yes or no, not maybes. And when
Mhm.
you say yes, that better carry some stinking weight. Like, I can confidently know that you have communicated with any trades, etc. And similar on the daily logs, if yes, you'll be able to see them checked off, which is good on a day-to-day basis. And then maybe there's a weekly, like, little summary of going, we got our daily logs done on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, did not do it on Thursday and Friday last week.
Right.
Okay, cool. Let's track that. Over on the project coordinator side, with Andrea being a little bit more of that planning of things, one KPI that could be pretty cool is like the ready for production, ready to go, whatever that looks like. Of job is fully prepped and ready based on what fully prepped and ready looks like.
Mhm.
3 weeks before the start of the project. That forces us to know when the start of the project is. That forces us to know what fully prepped means. That could be an interesting KPI for her.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah. She is starting to track now the major milestones and
love
where
it.
we are, how long it's taken. I just built a custom template for our view in JobTread to where we can see the customer name, I call it life cycle. How long has it been a job or our first site visit, whatever we determine is important. What was the last customer contact, and then how many days since that last customer contact, and then just what job status is that in. So that's something that we can all view now. Everyone can see where these projects that we're working on
Nice.
are. There's no great way in JobTread, at least that I've figured out yet, to kind of track how long it's been in each step, unless
Okay.
I make this comprehensive thing. But
Well, what you
at
just
least,
described is a great step in the right direction.
Mhm.
Yeah. The other thing you might consider as we think about KPIs for kind of each area is, man, we need them. We, like, even going back to the ones we were sharing for Nick, I've got to have him buy in on this. I've got to have him agree that this is helpful. This is pushing him towards the actions that he's been wanting to take. And he also needs to see, like, man, if I can knock these out, it makes my life better. It reduces the firefighting, and frankly, I'm more valuable to Shawn when I'm doing this. So getting the team involved on whatever KPI that you end up with for them
Yeah,
is really important.
I agree.
Okay.
And I saw the daily log one that we put in. I saw a change where he stepped it up and put a lot of information in there. And we just need to force the way of tracking. How many did you do? Did you do them all? And was it necessary? And what did
Good.
you get out of it?
I want to touch on two more. One being kind of Jen on the office admin side, and then one being a little bit more you on maybe the sales estimating type side of things. And then I just want to see, all right, Kyle, those were some good ideas. All right, I'm moving in the right direction, hopefully. And then just kind of see maybe a little devil's advocate on it, a little bit of how will this work. Just kind of dig into it a bit more. What would
Yeah.
be one for office/admin work when you think of
I
Jen's
mean,
duties?
honestly, right now it's the job closeout
Okay.
tracking form, and did she get them completed on time, and how many were completed on time, how many weren't, and what was the bottleneck.
Okay, I like
Those are-
that. So that could absolutely be kind of for the previous week or whatever the reporting is, if that was completed. If she's got a little bit of marketing side of things, like a KPI could be, 2 Google reviews per month. Could be something
Mhm.
that you could easily track. Again, that's a behavior that can slip under the radar. That could be related to kind of the office admin side.
Yeah, and another one, she does our intake calls,
Okay.
so that's definitely one that we're going to be tracking. How many intake calls have you done? What categories do they fall into? I'm rebuilding that process because I want to filter out more of the correct client for us
Okay.
before it gets to me. But I want her to do it in a light way that's so we can track that anyway,
Okay.
as far as what type of customers are calling, whether it's our ideal perfect fit customer that understands our process and wants it versus the one that's just looking for estimates from 4 different contractors. And,
Okay.
we don't want to waste our time pricing out against other people.
Do you think tracking how many of those calls and which ones were an ideal fit versus not, do you think that's a KPI, or is that just more of a report to be able to look at?
I mean, that's a report to look at, but I think at the end of the day, forcing her to how many went successful maybe
Okay.
in the process, and how many did she do, that,
Yeah.
she put in the correct category. Like, I only want up to 5 of the, big project vetting calls a month, let's say.
Okay.
Did she stick within that 5, or did she give me more? Did she give
Got it.
me
Yeah.
different?
And even some of our KPIs that we're doing at Remodelers on the Rise every week is to look at number of new qualified leads over the past week. So some of it is just we're kind of reporting on a few metrics, podcast downloads over the last week, new subscribers to remodelerscommunity.com over the last, but it helps kind of give us a little bit of a, all right, are we on pace for that? Is there anything we need to do to kind of ramp up the number of leads? Anything we can do to ramp up this or that? So I like that of tracking kind of the qualified conversations that she's had. I also heard you say, and I just maybe you misspoke. You said I am currently revamping that early part of the process, and I'm wondering, is Jen also participating in that, or are you taking that whole load on your shoulders?
So I started it. I have an outline. I have a direction. Our next step is to train on it together.
Okay.
And do some phone calls and get her feedback. I did the part of starting it because I have a structure that I want to follow.
Okay.
The Sandler way of selling.
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
Okay.
But it's a specific way. So I wanted to at least start the conversation with this is the direction that we should take it. Let's see how that works. Let's train on it. I think training is a big thing we haven't necessarily done with anything we've done and implemented. So I want to train on it, and I want both of us to get good at it and know the process so that someone else comes in, we can teach them as well.
Okay, excellent. So I like what I'm hearing there. I'm just encouraging, like, the more collaboration. It kind of goes back to, please do not put any KPIs in front of anybody and say, this is what we're doing, right? It's more like each person is agreeing, like, no, that makes sense. That's going to help me. I needed that accountability. I need, it's going to be a challenge for me, but no, that's good. That's the type of thing I need. If they are participating in it and brainstorming it, and you're explaining why we're doing it, then we're going to have more success with it. And that goes for any process that we're working on. The more we can get anybody listening to this, the more you can get your team to collaborate on it, the better. So I like that kind of qualified initial calls. You can start tracking a little bit of your close rate from that initial phone call to signed design development agreement. You could start tracking the number of days between, this is more on the sales and estimating side, the number of days between, your appointment and signed contract, or signed design and development agreement and signed contract. Start measuring that. That could be a cool KPI to start paying attention to.
Yeah. Another one I thought of too was how long is it taking from their initial contact to us reaching out to them and making sure we're doing it within 24 hours, say.
Yep. So that could be a great KPI of, all right, out of the 6 leads that we got last week, how many of those 6 did we, so we got the report of how many qualified, how many of those did we call back within 24 hours? And frankly, I would love to see 5 of 6 on there. Great. That means you're actually paying attention to that. And if I said, tell me about that one we didn't, there's going to be a reason behind it. What gets measured gets improved. The big thing is, every idea we've talked about here, I think you're in alignment with, your team will probably be in alignment with. And everything we've mentioned is kind of a good start. Like a couple per area is plenty. Integrating a little bit more consistency with a meeting cadence, especially on the project management side, I think is going to go a long way. KPI plus a weekly production meeting, ooh, baby. I feel like that's totally different than what you've been doing, and will have a great result. It will go from, I love the way you said it, like so much of this is me verbally asking and them verbally answering, and it's gotten you to where you are, but it's already been clunky. It already wastes your time. Frankly, it wastes other people's time. And you have a whole nother person involved now that's interacting with clients. We cannot do this verbally. We've got to have some good tracking. So like you were mentioning, like here's the latest and greatest. Here's the last time I contacted them. Here's this. Everybody on the team needs to be able to go in and review it. That's good. What else is coming to your mind on this topic, sir?
As far as KPIs and tracking those, I also think it's very important for Nick, the project manager, to be making some KPIs and tracking the field workers. Scott's been a lead carpenter with me for 10 years. Doesn't mean that he doesn't have things that he needs to work on.
Oh, please. He's Mary Poppins. He's practically perfect in every way.
I mean, he is pretty perfect, but
all right.
he's also an older guy who doesn't like technology and buying in.
Be careful throwing out that older guy thing. For some reason earlier today, I'm 43. Are you in your old man club in the 40s?
Yeah, 45.
Attaboy. And something hit me earlier today. I think I was thinking of somebody that I know that's 50, and it doesn't hit me very often. I don't feel old at 43, but I was like, I'm not that far off from 50.
No.
And it got my attention. I was like, holy crap, I'm going to be 50 someday, Lord willing. And that's not that far off. That, for some reason, struck me this morning. It kind of jarred me.
You're only as old as you feel, right? So
yes, amen, man.
If you feel 40, you'll be 40 for a while.
Yeah. I was talking to a guy and running my mouth last week it was actually another guy named Kyle. He's a remodeler. And he's like, I said, how old are you? He goes, 42. I said, I'm 43. I mean, I've got you. I'm the old man over here. And I said, how's your body feel? He's like, not great. I said, come on, man. Got to do some crunches. Got to do some push-ups. Got to do that. And he goes, Kyle, you've been sitting with that little headset and your delicate fingers typing for the last 20 years of coaching. I installed hardwood flooring for 10 years. I did this. I said, I apologize. Your body has been through a lot more than mine. So
it has, but it doesn't mean you don't need to take care of it.
Absolutely.
Because I did construction for I don't know how many years. In the last few years, I've been sitting at the desk doing estimating and trying to run the business. And my body is like, hey, you need to do something.
Yes. And you have been, right? I remember, where was it? Maybe it was at Job Trade Connect last year or the previous year or something. You were like you were being pretty consistent with your workout routine.
I was for a while, and then
it's gotten a little loose.
Yeah.
Let this moment remind you to lock back in.
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Got to do it. But yeah, working with the lead carpenters and tracking KPIs for them. Mitchell, who wants to be a lead carpenter. Yes, we're putting you on jobs all by yourself, but are you consistently following the scope of work and getting it done? Are you looking at all the, is your punch list at the end under 10 items, under 5 items? Are you hitting?
Yep. Are you doing your daily log? Giving him some insight into, are you hitting the quoted hours versus the actual hours, or even reporting on that? How are we doing on that? Those are great KPIs for him.
Right.
And think about him for example. Right now, if I said, Mitchell, how do you kind of keep score on how you're doing? Like how has Shawn empowered you to kind of like know if you're doing great or not? He would probably verbally kind of say, well, we've talked a lot about this and this is important. It'd be even better if he's like, look, if I'm keeping the project on schedule and kind of reporting that back to Nick, then that's good. If I'm, within 5% or so of the quoted hours, that's a huge one. If I get done with the project and I've got just a list of 5 punch list items, that means I've been keeping track of things along the way. Like show them how to keep score more often is a huge advantage of these KPIs.
Yeah. And that's what I have Nick working on that for Mitchell currently, right?
Good.
And coming up with a list. So that's one thing I've delegated. And then we can talk about what that list looks like and make sure it's measurable
Yep.
in terms of him being a lead carpenter and why.
Yep.
But,
It's good.
but you're right. Mitchell's focused on the things that I've talked about a lot, which are get us Google reviews. He's done a great job getting Google reviews. That gets him a little bonus, but does it make him a lead carpenter? No, it doesn't. It gets him a bonus. Also, doing daily logs. That's one where, yes, he does a great job with daily logs. He does them every day. He does them timely. Should we be reporting back that, yeah, you did all your daily logs before 6 p.m. every night all week, or maybe there was one that you didn't. Okay, we can be better. But
I like that. Now, Shawn, we embarked on this topic today, this podcast number 306.776, whatever we decided earlier, and said, all right, we want to kind of flush out for you a little bit more clarity around KPIs. Have we achieved that, sir?
We have.
Yes.
We definitely did.
Yes. My work here is done, and I'm looking at the clock going, hey, you got places to be. I got places to be. You just said we achieved success there. If people wanted to check out your website and kind of see what you're up to, what's your website?
It's crediblekb.com. So credible, CREDIBLE, K is in kitchen, B is in bath.com.
And what would you say is your biggest takeaway from what we covered today?
That KPIs can feel overwhelming when you don't know where to start, but coming up with one or two easy, simple ideas of tracking something and doing that to measure is not difficult, but start somewhere.
Yeah.
That's the biggest lesson because it felt overwhelming originally.
Yeah. Yeah. So. And we start and we can, it's one of those of like, let's get it out there and then we can tweak and move it around as we go. I think also so that's a great takeaway and I'm very happy with that. My takeaway is some of what we're talking about with KPIs is like, what are the 20% of things that lead to 80% of the results we're looking for? Because we could have 87 KPIs, but like one of those KPIs is barely important. So like when we think of the PM, it's like, man, if we can do a solid 2-week look ahead, which means this and this and this is happening, that's a huge needle mover when it comes to the project manager. That's definitely one of the 20% that moves it to 80%. So that's big. The other thing I would encourage you, because you've listened to trainings of mine over time and I think I just kind of naturally do it in my coaching, but even people that are listening to this, I kind of naturally at the end of this said, what's your big takeaway from today? And when I said it and you shared it, it was excellent. It was great. And I thought to myself, I wonder if the people that are leading meetings with their teams, their weekly meeting, their production meeting, are ending some of their meetings by going, hey, let's go around the horn to wrap up today. What's your big takeaway from what we've covered today? Like if you're listening to me, if you're listening to other podcasts, if I'm hearing a colleague of yours talk, if you read something in the Remodelers community or Job Treads board or whatever, swipe that idea and try it out. So I wanted to share that because I thought to myself, I wonder if Shawn's going to ask, what's your takeaway at his first project management meeting he's going to have coming up?
I probably wouldn't have. However, those last 2 points that you made, 80, the 20% lead 80%, and then, making sure that the person understood like that Sandler way of, selling to a customer. They talk about that a lot too in there. And it's true that ending with the customer, making sure they've understood what the next steps are, the team understanding what the next steps are, especially for customer. If the all decision makers aren't there, they're going to be selling what you've told them. Your team, if they're going to be selling what you've told them to customers or to other people, did they actually understand it and can they repeat it back?
I think that's going to be super powerful for you because you're sold on the Sandler approach to sales of, the upfront contract, explaining here's what's going to happen today. Can you kind of share with me what you heard as far as next steps go? You're super convinced that that's very valuable in the sales process. And you just made the connection of, the same principles that I use in that is excellent for my team meetings and leading my team well and making sure that they are hearing what I want them to hear. So love that. Excellent. Shawn, it was a pleasure. Thank you for not the one, but the 2-time Remodelers on the Rise podcast guest. We'll have you back before number 600, I bet.
I appreciate that. Thank you for having me on, and hopefully third time's a good charm. We'll do it again. Thanks, man.